The news spread across Earth like a rising wave. For the first time in history, humanity had received an invitation from beyond the stars. The Arathan Council, an ancient gathering of alien civilizations, had opened its doors to Earth. Their message was clear and polite. They asked Earth to send a single shuttle with a few chosen people to attend the grand meeting. Most on Earth felt honored. It was a chance to step into the wider universe, to meet neighbors that had lived among the stars for centuries. Yet not everyone agreed on how to answer. Leaders gathered in quiet rooms and spoke for many days. Some argued that Earth should send a small ship exactly as asked, to show humility. They said the aliens would welcome honesty more than display. Others worried that such a move would make humans seem weak or unprepared. They reminded everyone that Earth had always been tested by struggle. From storms and quakes to falling asteroids, survival had demanded strength. In the end, a decision was made that surprised many. Earth would not send a simple shuttle. Instead, it would send its greatest creation, a ship so advanced that no other vessel like it existed in human history. Its name was the Guardian. The Guardian was enormous, shining with polished silver panels and wrapped with deep blue lights that pulsed like a living heartbeat. It was built through the effort of every nation, every community, and every worker who dreamed of seeing humanity walk among the stars. Though it was strong enough to defend itself, its makers gave it another purpose. It was a vessel of unity, proof of what humanity could achieve when all stood together. Among the chosen crew was a young officer named Mira. She had grown up near the coast, always watching the horizon, always waiting for what lay beyond it. Joining the mission felt like stepping into her childhood dream. Yet she carried a knot of worry inside her heart. "What if they think we are showing off?" Mira whispered as she looked at the towering ship in its dock. Beside her stood Captain Ishan, a man with calm eyes and steady voice. He had served for many years and carried the quiet weight of responsibility. He looked at Mira and placed a hand behind his back. "They may think that at first," he said, "but we are not here to frighten anyone. We are here to show who we are. Strength does not always mean pride. Sometimes it simply means survival." Mira nodded, though her thoughts still danced like restless birds. She walked slowly up the long ramp that led into the Guardian. The inside of the ship was like a moving city. Bright halls stretched in every direction. Transparent windows revealed the stars waiting beyond. Engineers moved quickly, making last checks while scientists loaded instruments. She paused at the main viewing deck. From here, the Earth floated below, blue and green and white, fragile yet proud. For a moment, Mira forgot her worries. She saw her world not as small but as brave, a place that had fought to breathe and grow and now stood ready to step into the universe. The launch day came sooner than she expected. Families gathered at viewing sites, holding small flags and banners. News cameras followed every step of the crew. The air was filled with cheers, yet Mira also saw tears in many eyes. This was not just a journey for a few. It was a journey for everyone. When the engines roared, the ground trembled. Fire and light pushed against the sky. Slowly, the Guardian rose from its cradle higher and higher, until clouds wrapped around it like soft hands. Children pointed upward. Elders whispered prayers. The ship carried the weight of all their hopes. Inside, Mira sat at her station, her hands steady but her heart racing. Screens showed stars rushing past as they broke free from the Earth's pull. The hum of the engines was deep and strong, like the steady breath of a giant. Captain Ishan stood at the center, watching every detail. His voice carried across the deck. "Remember this moment," he said. "We are not leaving Earth behind. We are carrying it with us." The journey through hyperspace was unlike anything Mira had known. Colors shifted and bent around the ship. It felt as if they were sailing on a river of light. Hours passed, then days. The crew worked in smooth rhythm, their movements guided by training and trust. At night, Mira often sat by the window and watched the stars slide past. She wondered what the Arathans looked like. Were they tall or small, bright or dim, gentle or firm? Did they laugh, sing, or dream like humans did? She hoped they would see that humanity was not only strong, but also curious and kind. Finally, the signal came. They were close to the meeting place. The Arathan station floated like a jewel in the dark, wrapped in rings of silver light. Ships of many shapes moved around it, some like shining spheres, others like long petals drifting in space. It was more beautiful than anything Mira had imagined, but as she looked, she felt her heart tighten. The alien ships were all smaller than the Guardian. When they saw Earth's vessel appear, They would not be welcoming a simple shuttle. They would be staring at a giant. Mira turned to Captain Ishan. They asked for a shuttle, she said softly. Instead, we bring this. Do you think they will understand? The captain looked out at the glowing station, his face calm as ever. They will wonder, he answered. But that is not a bad thing. Let them wonder who we are. Then we will show them. Mira held her breath as the ship moved closer. The meeting of worlds was about to begin. The Guardian slipped out of hyperspace with a gentle hum, its long frame stretching across the dark. Stars glowed on every side, and in the distance the Arethan station waited like a crown of light. Ships of many kinds floated around it, moving with calm precision. Some looked like wide discs, others like glowing crystals, and a few shimmered with flowing colors as if made of liquid glass. The alien ships had gathered with joy. They expected a modest human shuttle, something small that showed a young species ready to learn. Instead, shadows spread across their windows as the Guardian appeared. Its silver hull gleamed, its size larger than any ship they had seen from a new world. Inside the station, alien voices rose in surprise. They spoke in tones of wonder and confusion. Is this truly the human vessel? Some asked. It cannot be only a shuttle. It is far too large. Others whispered that perhaps Earth wished to display pride. A few even admired the boldness. On the human side, Mira sat stiffly at her station. Her hands moved across the glowing screen as she checked numbers again and again, though all readings showed the same. The Guardian was steady, its systems perfect. Still, her heart raced. She could almost feel the eyes of thousands watching. Captain Ishan stood at the center of the deck. His face was calm, but Mira noticed his shoulders set firmly. He pressed a small button, sending a signal to the station. The screen lit up with words in the shared language prepared for the meeting. This is Earth's vessel, Guardian, he said. We come with greetings and respect. The words traveled across space, and for a moment there was silence. Then a voice returned, clear and melodic. Earth, we welcome you. Please approach the station. Docking guidance will follow. The crew let out quiet breaths of relief, but Mira felt the weight of the moment grow even stronger. The aliens had not rejected them. Still, the first impression was set. Humanity had arrived not in humility but in strength. The Guardian moved closer. Its lights glowed softly to avoid blinding the smaller ships. Docking lines extended from the station, guiding the vessel into place. As the ship locked into the grand ring of the station, vibrations moved gently through the deck. The crew exchanged brief glances, their eyes bright with both nerves and pride. Mira followed Captain Ishan as the doors opened into the station's reception hall. The space was wide, with arches of crystal that shone like morning dew. Streams of colored light flowed across the floor, guiding visitors to their places. Representatives from many worlds stood in groups, their clothes shifting with colors or patterns that Mira had never seen. All eyes turned to the humans. Whispers filled the air, soft yet clear. Mira felt as if she carried the weight of Earth on her shoulders. She straightened her back and tried to walk with steady steps. An Arethan host approached. The Arethans were tall and graceful, their skin glowing faintly like polished stone under the sun. Their eyes were large and calm, filled with patience. The host raised a hand in greeting. Welcome, visitors of Earth, the host said. We are pleased you accepted the invitation. Captain Ishan bowed his head slightly. It is our honor to be here. The Arethan's eyes moved briefly to Mira, then back to the captain. There was no sharpness in the gaze, only quiet curiosity. Your vessel is remarkable, the host continued. It is greater than what we expected. May we ask, what guided your choice to arrive in such a way? The words were polite, yet Mira felt the hidden weight in them. She watched as Captain Ishan chose his reply carefully. Earth has always lived close to danger, he said. We built the Guardian not for pride, but to keep our people safe. It carries the hope of every land, every family. To us, it is more than a ship. It is a sign of unity. The Arethan nodded slowly. Then we shall see what your unity brings to this gathering. With that, they were led further into the hall. Mira tried to breathe evenly. Around her, she heard murmurs in languages she did not know. Yet their tones told her enough. Surprise, wonder, doubt. The humans had made a grand entrance, but the meaning of that entrance was still unwritten. Later, as the crew settled in their quarters, Mira walked to a wide window that looked out on the stars. She saw the ships of other species docking, Some small and delicate, others simple and sturdy. All seemed to fit like parts of a puzzle around the shining station. The Guardian, however, stood out. Its size alone marked it as something different. Captain Ishan joined her quietly. He looked out with the same steady eyes he always carried. "They stare at us," Mira said softly. "I can feel it. They wonder why we came this way." "Let them wonder," the captain replied. "We did not come to hide who we are. In time they will learn we brought more than a strong ship. We brought hearts that wish to belong." Mira nodded, though her worry did not vanish. She thought of the days ahead, the meetings, the questions, the judgments. The Guardian's shadow had fallen across the station, and with it came both pride and risk. As she turned back to her room, she whispered to herself, "Let them see more than metal. Let them see us." Outside, the Guardian rested in its place, shining like a beacon among the stars. The morning after arrival, the halls of the Erethan station were filled with movement. Delegates of many worlds gathered in bright chambers lined with floating lights. Some came in flowing robes, others in shining armor-like suits, and a few in forms of shifting mist. They spoke in many voices, yet all carried curiosity about the humans. Mira followed Captain Ishan into the main council chamber. It was round and vast, with seats rising in rings like petals of a great flower. At the center hovered a sphere of gentle light, pulsing in rhythm. The Erethans explained that the sphere represented shared truth, glowing brighter when trust filled the room. As the humans took their places, Mira felt dozens of eyes upon her. Some were kind, others thoughtful, and a few uncertain. Whispers moved through the chamber like soft winds. "The human vessel is too large," one alien murmured. "They seek to show strength," another replied, "or perhaps they only seek to belong," said a third, the council leader. An Erethan named Solarin raised a hand for silence. His presence was calm yet firm. "We welcome Earth to this gathering. May your voice join the circle of stars." Captain Ishan bowed his head. "We thank you for this honor." The meeting began with formal talks. Delegates shared reports about trade, exploration, and the care of young civilizations. Mira listened closely, though her thoughts wandered. Every word reminded her of how new humans were to this place. They were guests among species that had sailed the stars long before Earth had learned to build simple boats. After the council session, visitors were free to walk the station. Mira decided to explore the marketplace, a wide hall filled with color and sound. Stalls offered glowing crystals, fabrics that shifted like water, and fruits that shimmered with soft light. Voices rose in laughter, song, and trade. At one stall, a merchant with gentle scales of silver called to her. "You are human, yes? I saw your ship. It is very great." Mira smiled politely. "Yes, it is called the Guardian." The merchant tilted his head. "Why does Earth need such a vessel?" The council asked for a shuttle. "Your people brought something greater than a fleet." Mira paused, choosing her words with care. "On Earth, life has never been simple. We face storms, quakes, and even great rocks from the sky. We learn to build not only to travel but to survive. The Guardian is not for war. It is a shelter, a symbol that all of Earth can stand together." The merchant studied her, his eyes calm. Then he nodded slowly. "Perhaps that is a lesson some of us have forgotten. To build not for pride, but for life itself." As Mira moved through the marketplace, she heard other whispers. Some spoke of admiration, others of doubt. The Guardian had become a topic on every lip. The humans were noticed, and notice could be both gift and burden. Later that day, the council invited all new delegates to a welcoming feast. The hall glowed with floating lights shaped like flowers. Tables curved in circles filled with foods from across the stars. Mira tasted fruits that melted into sweetness, and drinks that sparkled like morning dew. Yet even as she ate, she felt questions around her. A tall figure of mist asked, "Do humans always arrive in such strength?" A small winged delegate asked, "Does Earth wish to show power over others?" Mira answered with honesty, "We did not come to rule. We came to share. The Guardian is strong, but it is also a home. It carries people from every land of Earth. It is not a crown of pride. It is a hand reaching out." Her words carried softly through the circle. Some nodded in thought. The glowing sphere at the center of the hall brightened slightly as if sensing truth. When the feast ended, Mira returned to her quarters, her heart still restless. She knew not everyone was convinced. Some still whispered doubts. But she also knew that small seeds had been planted. If humans could show patience, those seeds might grow into trust. That night, Captain Ishan found her standing by the wide window, looking out at the stars. The Guardian's long shape gleamed beyond, anchored to the station. "You spoke well today," he said. Mira shook her head. "I only spoke what I felt. But do you think they believed me?" "Belief takes time," the captain replied. "Trust is not built in a single day. We must live among them, help them, and show them that our strength is not a threat. That will be our true test." Mira breathed deeply, letting his words steady her. She looked again at the vast field of stars, feeling both small and hopeful. Humanity had stepped into a circle far larger than itself, but perhaps with patience and truth they could belong. The sphere of light in the council chamber had brightened once that evening. Mira held on to that image as a promise. The test of trust had only begun. The days at the Arathan station passed with careful rhythm. Meetings continued, voices rose in debate, and trade filled the wide halls. The humans took their place among the guests, but their presence was still a subject of constant whisper. Some admired their courage, while others wondered if their great ship hid greater ambition. Mira spent much of her time observing. She listened in council sessions, walked through the marketplaces, and spoke with those willing to approach. She could feel a mixture of curiosity and distance in every exchange. Captain Ishan often reminded her, "We are new to them. Give them time. Trust grows slowly, like roots under soil." On the 5th day, the challenge arrived. The station had long orbited near a wide belt of unstable matter. It was known to shift without warning, sending streams of charged particles through space. Most days it remained calm, but now sensors showed a sudden storm forming. The charged winds rolled like invisible waves, bending light as they moved. Alarm lights filled the station, glowing in steady pulses. Voices called out in many languages, and ships began to shift position. Smaller vessels tried to hold steady, but their shields struggled against the incoming surge. Mira stood at her window, her heart tightening. She saw a cluster of ships shaking under the storm. Some were drawn close to the dangerous belt. If they drifted too far, they could be lost. On the bridge of the Guardian, Captain Ishan watched the readings with calm focus. His voice carried across the deck. "Prepare stabilizers. Bring shield arrays to full strength." The ship responded with deep vibrations, steady and strong. Panels glowed brighter as energy moved through its core. Slowly, the Guardian extended its shield to reach nearby vessels. The smaller ships found calm within the wide field of protection. The council leaders quickly noticed. Their voices echoed through the communication lines. "Earth vessel, can you hold position?" one asked. Captain Ishan answered without hesitation. "We can hold and we can guide. Keep your ships close." The Guardian's engines pulsed with controlled force. It adjusted its position, forming a center around which the smaller vessels gathered. The station itself steadied as the human ship extended additional power to help anchor its orbit. Mira watched in awe. The Guardian seemed less like a giant machine and more like a great shield, spreading its strength to protect rather than display. Around her, alien crews looked on with wide eyes. Some who had doubted the humans now saw their purpose in a new light. The storm raged for hours. Charged streams painted the dark with bright arcs, yet the cluster of ships remained safe. Whenever a vessel drifted, the Guardian adjusted gently, guiding it back with soft pulses of gravity. At last, the storm began to ease. The streams thinned, the air cleared, and the stars shone again. Relief spread through the halls of the station. Voices filled the comm lines with thanks. Inside the human ship, the crew exchanged quiet smiles. Mira let out a long breath she had been holding. "We did it," she whispered. Captain Ishan nodded. "We showed them not only who we are, but why we built this ship." Later, the council gathered once more. The chamber glowed with renewed brightness. Delegates rose to speak of the storm, praising the aid of the Guardian. Even those who had doubted the humans admitted that without their vessel, several ships might have been lost. Solarin, the Arithan leader, looked directly at the human delegation. "Your ship was called a destroyer by some who saw its size," he said. "Today we saw something else. It became a guardian in truth. Perhaps that is the lesson your people wish to bring." Mira felt warmth rise in her chest. The glowing sphere at the center of the chamber pulsed brighter than before, a clear sign of growing trust. That evening, as Mira stood once again at the window, she thought of Earth. She pictured the blue oceans, the green lands, the cities full of life. All of it had been carried here, not in stone or soil, but in the spirit of unity. Captain Ishan joined her quietly, as he often did. His eyes followed the stars. "You see," he said, "power is not always about how large a ship is or how strong its shields are. Power is in how you choose to use it. Today we chose well." Mira smiled softly. "Then maybe they will begin to see us as more than a shadow." "They will," Ishan replied. "One storm cannot erase every doubt, but it can open the first path. Tomorrow more paths will follow." Mira felt hope steady her heart. The test had come, and humanity had answered not with pride but with care. The Guardian rested in orbit, its lights glowing softly, not as a warning but as a promise. The storm had passed, but its memory remained alive in every corner of the Erethan station. Delegates spoke often of how the Guardian had stood firm, protecting ships that might have been lost. For the first time, the whispers about Earth carried not only doubt but also respect. Mira felt this shift as she walked through the marketplace. Merchants who once stared now smiled when she passed. Children from other species pointed at her uniform and whispered with wide eyes, calling her the human from the great ship. It made her nervous, but also proud. Among those who noticed her was Naro, an alien scientist with skin the color of soft copper and eyes that shone like twin moons. He approached Mira one evening while she studied maps in the quiet observation hall. His voice was gentle yet curious. "Young human," Naro said, "I watched your ship during the storm. I saw how it shielded others. May I ask you something?" Mira turned, closing her maps. "Of course." Naro stepped closer, his gaze fixed. "Why did Earth build such a vessel? The Guardian is larger than many fleets. Was it truly only for defense?" The question lingered between them. Mira knew she could answer with practiced words, but she chose honesty instead. She looked out at the stars, letting her thoughts settle before speaking. "The Guardian was built by all of Earth," she said slowly. "Every land, every people gave something to it. It was not made to show power. It was made to show unity. We have spent much of our history divided, but this ship is proof we can stand together. It is not only a machine, it is a promise." Naro's eyes softened and his voice grew thoughtful. "So it is more than strength. It is a story of your world choosing to become one." "Yes," Mira replied. "When you see its size, you may think of pride. But when I see it, I think of every hand that helped build it. I think of the farmers who sent food to the workers, the children who drew pictures of rockets, the scientists who worked late into the night. It belongs to all of Earth." Naro bowed his head, a gesture of respect in his culture. "Thank you for your truth. I will carry this story to others. Many here wonder what lies in the heart of humanity. Now I can tell them." Word of Mira's honesty spread quietly. Delegates from other species came to speak with her, curious about Earth's past. She shared stories of storms faced, mountains climbed, and oceans crossed. She spoke of how humans stumbled, argued, and even failed, yet always rose again. Her simple words touched many who listened, for they saw in them a reflection of their own journeys. The next council session carried a new mood. The glowing sphere at the center pulsed brighter as delegates spoke of cooperation. Some mentioned that Earth, though young, carried lessons of resilience that could guide others. Solarin, the council leader, even remarked, "Perhaps the boldness of humanity is not to be feared but to be admired." Still, Mira knew not all were convinced. A few voices held back, quiet but sharp. "Humans are unpredictable," they said. "One storm does not reveal the whole sky." That evening, Mira returned to the Guardian. She walked along its halls, touching the smooth walls as if greeting an old friend. She thought of the questions, the doubts, the hopes. When she reached the main deck, she found Captain Ishan standing at the large window. "They are beginning to see us," she said softly. The captain gave a slow nod. "Step by step. We cannot force trust. We can only earn it." Mira leaned against the railing. "Naro asked me why we built this ship. I told him the truth, that it was made to unite us." "That was the right answer," Ishan said. "The Guardian is not just steel and energy. It carries the spirit of Earth. When they see that, they will know us." Mira looked out at the stars again. The Guardian floated quietly, its lights glowing in steady rhythm. It no longer seemed like a shadow among the other ships. It seemed like a beacon, steady and calm. In that moment, she realized something. The story of Earth was not one of perfection. It was a story of struggle, mistakes, and growth. Yet it was also a story of hope, and hope was what shone through the ship's silver frame. The secrets of the Guardian were no longer hidden. Its purpose had been revealed not through speeches of pride, but through simple truth. And that truth was beginning to change how the stars looked at humanity. Mira placed her hand on the glass, whispering to herself, "May they see the promise, not the shadow." Far beyond, the council prepared for new discussions, and within the halls of the station, quiet voices repeated Earth's story of unity, carrying it from one delegate to another like a flame passed between candles. The promise of trust was growing brighter. The days on the Erythan station continued quietly, yet Mira felt an undercurrent of tension. While many delegates had begun to admire Earth's courage and unity, some still hesitated. They spoke in whispers, questioning why humans had arrived with such a large ship and what their true intentions might be. Mira tried not to think about it too much. She spent her hours observing the bustling station, learning about alien technology and helping wherever she could. The Erythans were generous in their guidance, showing her and the crew new systems, navigation tools, and ways to maintain the great vessels. One afternoon, the station's alarms rang sharply. Red and yellow lights pulsed along the walls and voices called across the halls. Mira ran to the observation deck, her heart beating faster. A freighter, a small cargo ship from a distant world, was drifting toward the edge of the station's orbit. Its engines had failed, and it was being pulled dangerously close to a belt of charged debris. The Erythan delegates gathered at the windows, murmuring in concern. "It will be lost," one said. "Its crew will have no chance." Mira looked at Captain Ishan, who was already at the controls of the Guardian. "We can help," he said calmly. "Prepare the rescue systems. Bring the stabilizers online." The ship's engines hummed deeply as energy flowed to the shields and thrusters. The Guardian moved forward, its vast frame cutting through space with precise control. Smaller Erythan ships tried to approach the freighter, but the currents of debris were too strong. They stopped, uncertain how to reach it without risking their own vessels. Mira took a deep breath and focused on her console. She guided small shuttles attached to the Guardian stabilizers toward the freighter. Each move required careful timing, as the debris shifted unpredictably. Her hands flew over the controls, moving the shuttles in perfect sequence. The freighter rocked violently, its crew visible through the transparent cockpit. Mira's heart ached as she saw their fear. She reminded herself to stay calm. "We can do this," she whispered to herself. Captain Ishan's voice came through clearly. "Keep steady, Mira. Focus on the timing of the shields. The crew will be safe if we stay precise." For long minutes they worked. The Guardian's shields absorbed the impacts of smaller debris, while the attached shuttles created a protective corridor around the freighter. Slowly it moved into safety. The freighter's engines were restarted and it regained control, drifting steadily into the station's docking area. The Erythans watched in awe. Their whispers grew louder, now filled with admiration. Mira felt a warmth spread through her chest as the realization came. The Guardian was not just a symbol of strength, it was a protector. When the freighter docked safely, the crew cheered. Delegates from many worlds approached the Guardian, their voices full of gratitude. Some bowed, others extended hands in gestures of respect. Solarin, the council leader, looked directly at Mira and Captain Ishan. "Today, we have witnessed the truth of Earth's vessel," he said. "It is not a tool of destruction, but a guardian in the highest sense. You have used your power not for pride, but to save lives. That is a lesson we will not forget." Mira felt her cheeks warm. She had only done her duty, yet it mattered so much more to the others. The glowing sphere at the center of the council chamber pulsed brighter than ever, a sign that trust had deepened. Later, Mira returned to her observation deck. She watched the stars move slowly outside the station, thinking of Earth and all who had contributed to the Guardian. It was more than a ship. It was a bridge, carrying not only humans but the hope of every species that courage and kindness could walk together in space. Captain Ishan joined her quietly. "You see, Mira," he said softly, "sometimes the greatest proof of strength is in gentleness. Today we did not conquer. We protected. That is what they will remember." Mira nodded, her eyes fixed on the distant stars. "Then perhaps they will begin to trust us fully. Perhaps they will see that humans are more than their fear of the unknown." "They will," Ishan replied. "Trust grows slowly, but once it takes root, it changes everything." For the first time since arriving at the station, Mira felt a deep sense of calm. The Guardian rested quietly in orbit, its light steady and soft. Beyond it, the stars stretched infinitely, full of possibilities. In that moment, Mira understood that the journey had only just begun. Humanity had proven its courage, but the real adventure would be in showing that their power could always be gentle, guiding and protective. And as the station settled into quiet hums of activity, the whispers of Earth's story traveled from one delegate to another. A new respect had grown, and with it the promise of friendship across the stars. Mira stood silently, placing her hand on the glass. "May we always use our strength to protect, not to frighten," she whispered. Outside, the Guardian floated in calm orbit, a shining symbol of hope and unity in the vast universe. The Arethan station buzzed with quiet excitement. Delegates from many worlds moved in orderly patterns, speaking of trade, exploration, and cooperation. The storm, the freighter rescue, and the display of the Guardian's true purpose had left a lasting impression. Whispers of Earth's arrival were now filled with admiration rather than doubt. Mira walked through the main hall, her steps steady but thoughtful. Everywhere she looked, delegates watched humans with curiosity, some smiling, some nodding in greeting. Children of various species pointed at her uniform, whispering questions to their guardians. "Who are the humans?" they asked. "Why is their ship so great?" Captain Ishan followed quietly, letting Mira take the lead. "You have done well," he said softly. "Not through words alone, but through action. You showed them that strength can be gentle." Mira smiled faintly. "I only hope it is enough. There are still many who do not know our story." Their conversation was interrupted by a soft voice. Solarin, the council leader, approached, glowing faintly in the station's gentle light. "Earth has proven its courage and unity," he said. "The Guardian is no longer seen as a tool of fear, but as a symbol of protection and cooperation. Your world is welcome among us as a trusted member of the stars." Mira felt warmth rise in her chest. She looked at the captain, who nodded quietly. "This is what we came to show," he said. "This is the moment we have worked for." The council held a final ceremony to mark Earth's acceptance. The central sphere glowed brilliantly, reflecting every color of the station. Delegates spoke of lessons learned, of courage displayed, and of the importance of unity among worlds. When it was Mira's turn to speak, she stepped forward with a calm but confident voice. "We come from a world that has faced storms both in nature and in life. Our journey to this station is a story of hope, unity, and trust. The Guardian carries not just people but the spirit of Earth. We wish to share that spirit with you all." Applause and quiet hums filled the chamber. Even those who had once doubted humanity's intentions now looked at her with new respect. The glowing sphere pulsed more brightly than ever, as if celebrating the truth of her words. After the ceremony, Mira and Captain Ishan returned to the Guardian. The ship floated in calm orbit, its lights reflecting softly across the station. Mira walked along its polished corridors, thinking of Earth. She thought of the people who had built the vessel, the children who dreamed of stars, and the leaders who had guided them to this day. "We have made our mark," Captain Ishan said as he stood beside her at the observation deck. "Not through conquest, but through care and courage. That is the reputation we leave behind." Mira nodded, her eyes fixed on the stars beyond. "I think they will remember us not for our size, but for our heart. That is what matters most." As the station grew quiet for the night, Mira noticed groups of delegates talking among themselves. The stories of Earth and the Guardian traveled from one to another, carried like soft sparks of light. They spoke of humans who faced the unknown bravely, who built not for power but for unity, and who used their strength to protect others. Mira turned to the captain. "Do you think they will ever forget us?" "They may forget our faces or the exact shape of our ship," he replied, "but they will remember the choice we made. That is how trust grows. That is how reputation becomes true." The stars outside shimmered gently. Mira felt a sense of calm and purpose she had never known before. Humanity had taken its first step into the wider universe, not as conquerors, but as companions, allies, and friends. She placed her hand on the glass, letting her fingers trace the pattern of light from the distant stars. "We are part of this now," she whispered to herself, "and we will carry Earth with us wherever we go." Captain Ishan rested a hand on her shoulder. "This is only the beginning," he said. "The Guardian will always guide, and humanity will always grow. We have shown who we are, and now it is time to learn who they are as well. Mira smiled, feeling a quiet hope settle deep in her heart. She turned her gaze outward once more, seeing the planets, stars, and ships around the station. Each one represented a world full of stories waiting to be shared. The Guardian floated steadily in orbit, no longer a shadow but a shining symbol of unity and trust. Earth's name had begun to echo among the stars, not as a distant small world but as a bold, caring, and courageous presence in the vast universe. Mira stood silently, letting the calm of space wash over her. She knew that this journey had changed everything. Humanity had not only arrived, but it had made a new reputation, one built on courage, care, and the promise of friendship. And in that quiet, glowing light, Mira felt the hope of all her world reflected in the stars.